Live from Wild Wing Cafe in Cool Springs, this is Sports Source on WilliamsonSource.com. Presented by Dailies and Twice Daily. Win $500 gas weekly with the Coca-Cola Word of the Week. And by Jack Yakubian Jewelers in downtown Franklin. A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs. Bob Parks Realty. Franklin Skin and Laser. Push Pedal Pull in Brentwood. And Wild Wing Cafe.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Nick Peranchape with Williamson Source, and you are watching Sports Source right here, live from Wild Wing Cafe in Cool Springs. Everyone meet our lunch crowd that we've got out here. We've got some good folks out here eating a great meal. We'll talk about that meal in just a second, but first let me tell you what's coming up here in the next hour from 12 to 1. We've got longtime sports talk show host George Plaster from 102.5 The Game. Of course, we'll talk about the Titans, break down that game yesterday against the Colts, and some big news right now happening coming out of Vanderbilt as head coach James Franklin kind of being lured right now by USC as one of their top candidates to fill that head coaching spot. We'll talk to George about that as well. We want you guys to get involved in the conversation as well. You can do that two ways. You can join us on Facebook. We're at facebook.com/Williamson Source. You can also find us on Twitter at Williamson SRC. That's at Williamson SRC, hashtag Sports Source. Now, George is not our only guest this afternoon. We also have a few other guests as well. And tell us more about that is my co-host, Amber Pennycuff, who's joining us. And also at the same time happening right now, in fact, they just got started, the Mr. Football Awards happening in Murfreesboro.
Yes, and I will be keeping you updated throughout the show on those results. We have kids from CPA, Brentwood Academy, BGA, and FRA in that as well. And like you said, we have head football coach Chris Hughes coming from Fairview and some members of the YMCA to tell you how you can keep off those holiday pounds. We'll toss it back over to you, Nick.
Did you say holiday pounds?
Holiday pounds.
Wow.
Yes,
well, yeah,
exactly
I certainly have a lot of those. Speaking of pounds, hey, but it's good stuff. Look at that. They are just filling up the wing bar right now at Wild Wing Cafe. That's Chandler over there putting in some more wings. And I'll tell you what, they have an amazing bar. It's all-you-can-eat wings, Monday through Friday from 11 to 2. And it's $10.99. And they have 6 different sauce flavors. And they also have a lot of soups and sides as well. So check us out here. If you can't watch us on your computer, come on down here. Have lunch as well at the Wild Wing Cafe. Our featured guest today, if you listen to Sports Talk Radio in Nashville, you know his voice. He's currently the host of Sports Night from 4 to 7, Monday through Friday on 102.5 The Game. How about a big round of applause for George Plaster, ladies and gentlemen? Does that always make you feel good, George?
Well, I want to thank them. You'll get your check later.
Thanks so much for being on the show. Real quick, since it's big right now, it's breaking, want to talk about James Franklin, head coach at Vanderbilt, being lured on a short list right now for the USC head coaching job. What are your thoughts on this whole thing as it's happening?
Well, now that I think back on it, I watched the UCLA-USC game, which is a big rivalry game in Los Angeles, and really big right now because both of them were pretty good. And I thought during the game that USC, very strange, they got hammered in the game. And now I think I've put 2 and 2 together. Orgeron, I think, was told at some point last week, you're not getting the job. I think he ended up telling his players before the game. They didn't respond particularly well to it. He was very popular with them, and they went out and laid an egg against UCLA.
And it's unusual because they've been playing really well.
Oh, they've been on a roll now for a month and a half. They've been one of the hottest teams in college football. The Franklin part of this, it makes sense that some big school would notice that this guy has been nothing short of a miracle worker here. 3 bowl games in 3 years. He's beaten Tennessee twice. He's beaten Georgia. He's beaten Florida. You know, he's done a lot of great things here. The Vanderbilt situation, I think, is going to get worse before it gets better. I think Franklin probably has a desire to get out of here before either a rape trial settlement, however the thing is, I felt this way all along, that Franklin has been able to get kids into school that some of his predecessors have not. He and David Williams have been able to do a very good job of basically saying to the admissions department, you know, trust us, you know, we're bringing good kids. But athletically, they've been getting better kids than predecessors have. I think that's all about to stop. I think Vanderbilt may be going back to the old days, which is going to make it very difficult for a coach to win at the level that Franklin's been winning. I think he knows that. I think he's known for the last month and a half that if something really attractive, big-time kind of job opens, that he probably takes it. I mean, who out there listening to this would blame him if he took Southern Cal? I mean, that's one of the 5 best jobs in the country.
Now, James Franklin has certainly had opportunities in the last few years to go somewhere else. He's been throwing some pretty good money at him, some pretty decent jobs out there, but you feel like timing right now is the key with him, and it sounds like you think he's going if he gets offered the job.
Oh, I do think he's going. If he's offered the Southern Cal job, he'd be a fool to turn that down. I think he got involved with Washington State 2 years ago. I think there was a little bit of a flirtation with Arkansas a year ago when they hired Brett Bielema. But I don't think anything has come up since he's been here that would be even close to the Southern Cal level. To me, if this one gets offered, he's gone.
Let me share a tweet with you. We were checking on Twitter right now. Keyshawn Johnson, the former USC receiver, just tweeted out, "I want James Franklin if we don't hire Coach O, period."
Well, it appears they've made the decision they're not hiring Orgeron. ESPN's reporting Steve Sarkisian is the other one, head coach at Washington, who obviously has USC ties. He was the offensive coordinator when Pete Carroll was there. I think it's going to be hard for Sarkisian, even if he wants to do it. Washington's in the same conference. He's built that program to a level where, frankly, right now they're better than Southern Cal. I think that's going to be a difficult deal. Franklin's, to me, is the cleanest path toward getting a really good football coach. And I think there's a real shot he's going there. I cannot imagine a scenario where he gets offered that job and he turns it down.
Can Vanderbilt then do anything to keep him?
I wouldn't think so. I don't think this is a deal where you throw more money out there, because I think he's being paid by Vanderbilt standards exceptionally well. You know, I think this is just part of the landscape. You know, if you do well at a Vandy, somebody's going to notice, because it's had such a track record of doom that to go to a bowl 3 years in a row, you know, it's just part of the process. Now, what's going to be interesting will be to hear what people say about the Vanderbilt job if it opens. Because on one hand, it's a much better job than it was before Franklin got there. He's built it into something far better. But at the same time, trying to follow him is a very difficult path, because you have to ask yourself, has he taken the Vandy program as far as it can go? Well, the answer probably is not only yes, but he's probably taken it farther than any of us ever dreamed it could go. I mean, those of us who've either lived here, in my case, gone to school there, watched this thing over the last 35, 40 years, I never dreamed they'd do these kind of things.
We're chatting right now with George Plaster with 102.5 The Game. And again, if you want to get involved, you want to ask George a question, certainly out here in the crowd, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask George whatever you want to. You can also join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Williamson Source, also on Twitter at Williamson SRC, #SportsSource. Speaking of coaches, I know James Franklin, there was some interest shown by Tennessee early on, at least before Butch Jones was hired, maybe to lure James Franklin there. What about the job Butch Jones has done there? I actually finished with the same record as Derek Dooley did, but there seems to be so much more positive energy there, even with the same record with Butch Jones as opposed to Derek Dooley.
You know, and I believe that. I think Butch Jones knows a lot more about how to run a program than Derek Dooley did. I thought when he first got there, the first big thing that he did that I thought was very smart was to welcome the former Letterman back and made it very clear, we want you here, this is your home. To me, that's the biggest source of pride University of Tennessee athletics has, is the long-standing football tradition. Dooley was more of an introvert, a guy that didn't seem to want to deal with people a lot.
Was he ready for that job?
I don't know whether he was or not. I remember asking his father in an interview, I said, you know, does he ask for your advice? Because Vince Dooley was one of the, you know, the legendary football coaches of the South, and Vince's answer to me was, oh, Lord, no, I don't get involved in that at all. And I'm thinking, God, if I'm Derek Dooley and my dad has had the track record he's had, oh, my goodness, I would be pounding on him for advice. Apparently that didn't happen.
Didn't happen. Well, recruiting obviously has gone well for Butch Jones, top 5 in the country. Seems like the future is bright there. How do you see this quarterback situation unfolding? Do you see Justin Worley coming in as the starter next year, or maybe do you throw in a Ferguson or Dobbs?
Well, I think off the Missouri game, off the Kentucky game, Dobbs will probably go into spring football as the number 1 by about that much. I don't think it means anything. I think all these names that are out there will all have a real shot at it. Yeah, Dobbs probably by default is number 1, but you know, a good gust of wind could change that. I don't know, off what I've seen so far, whether Dobbs is a good enough thrower on the college level. The way the college game is played now, you got to have a quarterback that can do both. It appears he's got the wheels. I just don't know about the arm, and I think the jury's kind of still out on that part.
Auburn, Alabama, huge game over the weekend. Have you ever seen a better football game than that one?
Well, I've never seen one with a crazier ending. I'll say that. You know, if you think about all the different plays that go into creating this ending. For instance, Auburn's got the ball in the final minute and a half trying to score to force overtime. And I thought they did an amazing job. I kept yelling at the TV, you can't keep running, you can't keep running, you don't have time. Well, what he was doing, he sets that read option waiting on Alabama's corner to bite. In the minute they got what they wanted, you've got a receiver 20 yards behind a defensive secondary. It was a brilliant strategy on Gus Malzahn's part, who, by the way, interviewed for the Vanderbilt job before James Franklin got it. And, you know, kudos to Auburn. What an amazing deal. They've won their national title. I hear all this talk about, you know, will Auburn get to play for the national title? Deep down, I don't think they're going to. I think it's going to be Ohio State. But you know what? If I'm an Auburn fan, my reaction is, so what? Auburn won their national title Saturday. They beat Alabama, which in that state means everything. They cost Alabama everything. They cost Alabama anything that was worth playing for. I think if you're an Auburn fan, it's just unbelievable satisfaction.
It's incredible. Maybe a team of destiny. I don't know. I mean, incredible, the game against Georgia as well. Well, coming up, we're going to continue our conversation with George Plaster with 102.5 The Game. We're going to talk about the Tennessee Titans. Yes, we have to. We will talk about them and their slim to none playoff hopes that remain now. And we'll also talk about maybe the top 25 and see how the bowl predictions or projections come out within a few weeks. We'll see how all of that happens as well. We're talking with George Plaster right now. Let's toss it down to the floor. Amber Pennycuff has our special guest here, one of our great sponsors of Sports Source. Amber?
I'm here with John D., one of my favorite places to splurge in downtown Franklin, I might say. John D., tell us a little bit about what you got here.
Well, what we have here are just a few gift ideas for the holiday season. One of my favorite being the Peep Snake, which is a scarf that holds your phone, and you're able to use your phone while staying warm. It has a wallet for your keys, ID. It's great for the game. You can still use your camera, your flashlight. It's just a very functional, fun, unique gift.
I have to say that's perfect for those NFL fans too, because that bag band, that they have now, that is perfect.
We have all colors too, not just black. That's great. Another unique gift for the game might be a belt buckle, which is a flask.
There we go.
2 ounces flask. So anyway, still got a few of these left.
Talk about the iTech gloves real quick. I know those have been really big this winter.
Yes, these gloves, you're able to use your touchscreen phone. You can text or get the scores, whatever you need. And we have probably half a dozen colors of these, and they're all wool, so they're very warm and functional.
Those are my favorite kind that I've seen this year, the cutest, definitely.
Something else we have, we recently bought a crocodile, and over the holidays we've been creating these one-of-a-kind artisan-made cuffs. So we have a few of these in stock as well, and I'm wearing one as well.
Would you say that could go, kind of like unisex, I guess? Both male?
Absolutely, but we have different widths. I would think this was more for a guy, but we do have some that are, inch and a half cuffs as well.
What a unique holiday gift idea. That would be awesome. And talk about these hats right here. Everybody needs one of those.
It's just beanies of all colors, all styles. You can, wear them out, wear them, to the game. They're just fun and functional at the same time. And also, we have our one-of-a-kind Mimi and Dottie jewelry line, and this is a Spanish coin from the 1600s with a bronze vintage cross.
That goes almost perfect with the, historic Franklin and all that, for the big history buff in the family. And where are you located at downtown Franklin?
We're at 407 Main Street. We're a couple of doors down from the Franklin Theater, so we're really easy to find.
And any Twitter or Facebook?
Yes. We are at John D on Twitter, and Facebook we are John D Boutique.
Thank you so much, John D, for being here with us today and making Sports Source possible. We'll toss it back to you, Nick.
All right, Amber, thank you so much. And, of course, we want to thank John D for being a wonderful sponsor with us here on WilliamsonSource.com and sponsoring our show, Sports Source. And, of course, want to thank where we are here at Wild Wing Cafe in Cool Springs. Come on down, join us. Got all you can eat wings here for $10.99. 30-minute lunch guaranteed. Wild Wing Cafe, Cool Springs, right in the plaza, right next to TJ Maxx. We also want to thank our other sponsors as well in helping making this show possible. Let's take a look right now.
Live from Wild Wing Cafe in Cool Springs, this is Sports Source on WilliamsonSource.com. Presented by Dailies and Twice Daily. Win $500 gas weekly with the Coca-Cola Word of the Week. And by Jack Yakubian Jewelers in downtown Franklin. A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs. Bob Parks Realty. Franklin Skin and Laser. Push Pedal Pull in Brentwood, and Wild Wing Cafe.
Again, want to thank all of those wonderful sponsors in making Sports Source happen. Want to share with you real quickly, we're talking with George Plaster, host of Sports Night, 4 to 7, Monday through Friday on 102.5 The Game. We mentioned the Vanderbilt James Franklin situation. He's on a short list right now as the head coaching job at USC. Vanderbilt has just put out a statement saying, this is coming from Athletics Director David Williams at Vanderbilt, saying, quote, they have not been contacted by anyone with USC or by Trace Armstrong, that's Franklin's agent, regarding the job, and that Franklin has never spoken to him about the position. So there you go. So far, apparently no contact, but we know how these things work. Sometimes they say, no, I am not interested in that job at all. Next thing you know, they're at the new place.
Well, there are different ways of doing this. First of all, it's very possible that nobody has contacted David Williams, but it's also very possible that USC, whether it be Pat Hayden or somebody else, has contacted Trace Armstrong. Armstrong's agency is the same one that Jimmy Sexton is involved in. I know Jimmy very well from back the year I lived in Memphis. And look, just because there hasn't been USC requesting permission to speak, that's sort of a gentleman's agreement that you operate that way, I don't place any value in what's there one way or the other.
Sounds like they want to make a decision pretty quickly, so we'll find out here in the next few days, I think. Before we leave college football, Amber down there on the floor has got a question for you, George.
I do. We have a couple of guys in Middle Tennessee that are Mizzou commits. I want to know what you think about Missouri going into the SEC championship.
Well, they've had a great year. The one hiccup was the overtime loss to South Carolina. I didn't think Missouri would get to this level this quick, but I also didn't think Georgia would be as down as they are, that Florida would bottom out the way they did, that Tennessee really has not been a factor in the East for a while. I mean, this was a good time for Missouri to kind of jump in there, but go with fair warning that it's not always going to be this way. The big three will come back, so Missouri probably ought to enjoy it while they can.
Missouri taking on Auburn Saturday. It'll be a good one at the SEC Championship. All right, let's talk Tennessee Titans. Do you want to? We don't have to if you don't want to. No, a lot of people don't want to talk about it. George, I don't know if I've ever been as frustrated as I have this season in watching this team play football.
Yeah, they give you little glimpses that give you hope, but then they also give you these long periods of not very smart football where you realize that at times they're their own worst enemy. And I say that the NFL is a league. I heard a coach say that the NFL is a 4-minute league. Think about how many of the games are decided in the last 4 minutes, which means that every mistake or every good thing gets magnified. And unfortunately, yesterday was a perfect example. The Titans shot themselves in the foot repeatedly, and even with that, Indy wasn't anything to write home about. They weren't exactly the 27 Yankees. And had the Titans done a few things better, they could have walked out of Lucas Oil with a huge win. They just don't do the little things.
Yeah, drop passes, dropped interceptions. George Wilson's right there, hit him right between the 2 and the 1. The 3 turnovers by Fitzpatrick, or 3 interceptions, and then the forced fumble as well. It's like you said, they've got momentum. They show glimpses, but they can't finish the deal, and they seem to kind of crumble there at the end. What is the situation with Mike Munchak and the coaching staff? Do you see them at all coming back next season? A lot of people don't want to see them back.
Well, first of all, personally, I like Mike, and I think all of us who've dealt with him do. I don't know how you sell this to the fan base that he come back. Bud Adams put out there pretty succinctly before he passed away what Mike had to do for him to be able to keep the job. He hasn't done that. Now, with his passing, the son-in-law, Tommy Smith, is the one that makes the decision. If Mike ends up staying, maybe it's by default, maybe it's an ownership group that doesn't want to rock the boat this quick. But I think it's going to be a difficult sell to a fan base that I think is restless, at times bordering on bored. I think you see it more and more. You see empty seats, by the handful. You go up in the upper deck, and you see a lot of empty seats, and you see that people are getting tired of this.
Of course, they play the Broncos next. Early line has the Broncos favored by about 12.5. You see it more?
Could be. Peyton appears to be at the top of his game. What they did yesterday was a surgical tear-up of a pretty good Kansas City team. And the kid, Eric Decker, from the University of Minnesota, was just lights out. In fact, I'm sitting here looking at one of the plays he made on one of the big screens. They were amazing yesterday. I don't know that they're good enough defensively to win a Super Bowl, but somebody's going to have to beat Denver to prove that.
Should be an interesting game. We'll see. We got to talk about the Atlanta Braves because I know you're a huge Braves fan. A lot of Braves fans around here as well as Cardinals fans. Brian McCann, catcher, big deal going to the Yankees, $85 million. Surprised you a little bit?
Not at all. Absolutely not. In fact, early as June, I was saying on our show that he's gone. McCann was ticked off a year ago, 2012. At the end of 2012, the Braves were in the one-game play-in game against the Cardinals, and Freddie Gonzalez went to him about 3 or 4 days ahead of time and said, "You won't be playing in that game. You just haven't been good enough." The story I've got is McCann looked at him and said, "You know full well I needed to have had surgery. I delayed it to stay with this team this year, and this is how you reward me." And I believe Brian McCann made that decision over a year ago and never wavered on it, and good for him. He's a great guy, going to make a lot of money. I hate that he's going to the Yankees, but as I told Terry McCormick, I said he'll improve that clubhouse 100% because he's at least one Yankee who's upstanding and a good human being.
You excited about possibly a new stadium there in Atlanta as well in 2017?
I don't know what to think. I certainly like Turner Field. I think it's a waste of resources. The other thing that I worry about is that if a stadium can be torn down in 15 to 20 years, what does that do for this city? LP Field is 15, 16 years old. The arena is now 16, 17 years old. And, I hope that the teams here don't use that same criteria. We haven't got that kind of money.
We're talking with George Plaster with 102.5 The Game. We're going to continue the conversation in just a second. Right now, breaking news, we go to Amber Pennycuff with the Mr. Football Awards. Amber?
We have some Mr. Football winners. We have CPA Paul Adams for Division I Class AA and Derry Davis from Fulton High School in Knoxville.
Excellent. All right, congratulations to those folks. Again, the Mr. Football Awards, Tennessee Titans Mr. Football Awards happening right now in Murfreesboro. Amber is keeping us up to date on all of that. I guess it's been about a year now that you made the transition from the zone to the game. You're kind of teamed up again with your old buddy Willie Donick, and you got Darren McFarland as well. And again, you guys are on from 4 to 7, Monday through Friday. How has that transition been? Because you were at the zone for so long.
Yeah, and, people ask me this a lot because a lawsuit that I had with Cumulus 10 years ago is basically what created 104.5. I didn't want to leave 104.5, but when Cumulus ironically then bought the company Citadel, which owned 104.5, I just didn't feel like I had, a lot of choice in the matter. It certainly wasn't out of any dissatisfaction. I got treated unbelievably well there, got treated like a king. You'll never hear a bad word from me about 104.5. 102.5 is kind of a startup deal as of 2 years ago. I've been there, 17 months, I guess. And, it's had its growing pains. It's like most of radio. When you're trying to go up against the behemoth, it's going to take a while. And I just hope it gets done while I'm still alive.
Well, you have such a great chemistry there with Willie, and you guys go back so many years. It takes that chemistry to make something work, to be successful.
Well, it's hard to believe. It's been, 21 years now that we've worked together. That's a long time in radio. It's a long time in any business, I guess. But you're right. He knows my moves. I probably know his. It's been a very easy transition with him back there, and same thing with Darren.
I know you've done play-by-play as well in your past years. Any interest in getting involved again and doing more play-by-play?
Well, I'll say this: I haven't really pursued anything for about 10 years. If something dropped in my lap, I'm sure I'd look at it, but I can't say. In the old days, I was much more of an aggressive pursuer. I was a Division I play-by-play announcer in my 20s. But that was before the talk radio stuff happened, and I've really enjoyed the talk radio. It's been fun.
Well, you do a great job, of course. Everybody knows that voice, and it's a great voice, and you do a great job with 102.5 The Game. Appreciate you coming here on Sports Source. George Plaster, everybody. You can catch him Sports Night, 4 to 7, Monday through Friday. I'm sure you guys will be talking about James Franklin just a little bit, maybe. And, of course, the Tennessee Titans, all that good stuff. So make sure you catch him on there. Thank you, George.
Thanks.
Hang around right here for a second. Right now we want to give our thanks to all the great sponsors that make this show possible. Take a look.
Live from Wild Wing Cafe in Cool Springs, this is Sports Source on WilliamsonSource.com. Presented by Dailies and Twice Daily. Win $500 gas weekly with the Coca-Cola Word of the Week. And by Jack Yakubian Jewelers in downtown Franklin. A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs. Bob Parks Realty. Franklin Skin and Laser. Push Pedal Pull in Brentwood. And Wild Wing Cafe.
Again, thank you to all the wonderful sponsors, including Wild Wing Cafe, all you can eat wings. They just put this up here to tempt me to eat this, and I can make a real mess eating this right now, but I'm not. I'm going to wait till 1 o'clock after the show's over. All you can eat buffet. They've got here 6 different wing flavors, soup, sides, $10.99, 30-minute lunch, guaranteed. Wild Wing Cafe in Cool Springs. Come on down, join us every Monday here from 12 to 1. Joining us now is John Krofcheck with the Franklin Firefighters Association with the 6th annual Toy and Clothing Drive. And John, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. This is something you guys have been doing, obviously, 6 years. It's such a wonderful thing. Tell the folks a little bit about what you do.
It's the base organization that allows us to give back to the people in the city of Franklin. We work with the Boys and Girls Club and other charities in this area to make sure that there's no child that doesn't get to celebrate Christmas. It started many years ago with meeting a family that wasn't able to afford Christmas, so they never talked about it. They basically never brought it up, and we said that that was not going to happen if we could help it. So this is an organization that's run by firemen that basically puts on Christmas for them. We bring out Santa Claus, we give them a huge meal, we get wrapping gifts, and then we provide them with what they didn't have before, which is an opportunity to celebrate with us and then take the rest of the gifts home and celebrate with their family.
It's an important time of giving and giving back this time of the year. There are 6 location stations, fire stations in Franklin. If you go by there, you'll see a fire hydrant out there. Tell the folks what to do with that fire hydrant.
The fire hydrant is set up with individual little tags on them, and they've got an item for a single child. The kids will get several different items. The biggest part of it for us is clothing. We want to make sure they've got warm clothing so when they're sitting in school, they don't have to worry about the rest of the things. We also want to make sure that they get some toys so they can enjoy their Christmas time as well. The tags are there. It gives a specific item, a size, an age of the child, and that's all. We want them to return the gift after they've bought it to any of the Franklin fire stations or to our downtown station, which is at City Hall. That way, on the 13th, we can bring all the gifts together, make sure that all the gifts are spoken for, and then we'll have a huge wrapping party and allow all the people to come in and wrap up and participate to get ready for Christmas.
I can imagine, John, it gets pretty emotional when you see the end result, because so many of us give, but we don't see the end result. You get to see that as well.
I do, and I get to bring my family into it. I now have a wife and daughter, and my daughter actually enjoys it. She actually gave some of her own money last year to make sure that some other kids in this area would have something. And when you can get an 8-year-old to give some of her own money, you've done something. We help kids throughout Williamson County. We've given to Vanderbilt's Children's Hospital before. We've given toys. And we also gave a lot of toys back during the floods of 2010. It's an organization that helps out Williamson County. It pretty much basically stays in Williamson County. But if there's somebody else who needs help and we can do it, absolutely, we're there for them.
Something that's very important. I know my wife and I have gotten very involved in this through the years as well. If you are interested, if you want more information, you can call the Franklin Fire Department. That number, 615-791-3270. Again, 791-3270. You're also on Facebook as well, right?
Absolutely. It's under Franklin Firefighters Toy and Clothing Drive.
All right, John Krofcheck, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thanks for being here, and make sure you have a chance to give back. Well, let's toss it down to Amber on the floor right now, and she's got a preview of a huge matchup between CPA and Alcoa. It's the big state championship game. Amber, I know you're going to be down there covering it.
Yes, I'll be there on Friday night. CPA has a huge matchup coming up. They're competing against 12-time state champions Alcoa. Let's take a look at what they'll be facing this Friday night. The Lions are still undefeated, going 14-0 this week and on their way to the TSSAA 3A state championship. CPA took a big 38-26 win over Lewis County. putting its undefeated record to shame last Friday night. However, the Lions have a new breed to tackle in this next game. CPA will be facing Alcoa in the state championship, and the Tornadoes will be a tough team to beat. Alcoa holds 12 state championships and has been a contender throughout the years in high school football. Its one loss is attributed to Maryville earlier in the season. Throughout the entire season, the Tornadoes have not allowed more than 20 points from its opponents in a matchup. Alcoa smashed through Upperman with a 75-18 inning score in the semifinals last week. The Lions will have their work cut out for them, but if they can put in the same effort and hard work that they do each week, CPA may just have a championship under its wing. The Williamson Source will keep you updated on CPA throughout the game with our live scoreboard on our Football Central homepage. Be sure to follow us on Twitter @WilliamsonSRC for your latest sports and information updates. For Williamson Source, Amber Pennycuff. They will have a tough matchup, but I will be there on Friday night, so make sure that you keep up with CPA on our Football Central homepage and Twitter @WilliamsonSRC, and we'll toss it back over to you, Nick.
All right, thank you so much. And of course, you will be updating us on our Mr. Football Awards happening as well throughout. They're happening right now live in Murfreesboro. They started at 12 o'clock, and we've already had a few announcements, and Amber will catch us up on that as we go through the show. Our next guest is Fairview Yellow Jackets head coach. They got all the way to the quarterfinals in the 3A state championship playoffs, but came up just a little bit short against CPA, the team Amber just talked about. The team still had a great year, finishing 11-2. How about a great round of applause for Fairview head football coach Chris Hughes. Thank you so much for being here, Chris. Let's get it out of the way. Let's talk about CPA in the game. You guys had a great season, but ran kind of into a brick wall. CPA just kind of came out fast and furious.
They did. You know, we held in there for one quarter, and our kids fought hard the whole game, but CPA is a pretty dang good football team. So,
what makes them so good? They're playing now in the state championship game. I know they kind of jumped on you guys a little bit early.
They did. It was up 20-0 at halftime. They force you to make mistakes. They play real sound, fundamental, and they wait for you to make a mistake, and they capitalize. And what makes them so good is people like Mr. Football Paul Adams. You know, I could stack two of my kids up and couldn't make one of him. So that's a big difference also.
Yeah, Mr. Football, of course, he just won. Paul Adams with CPA. They've got so many great players. Do they have a good shot at winning the state championship? You've played CPA. You've never played Alcoa, but Alcoa, obviously a great history itself. How do you see this matchup?
Well, I've seen Alcoa play a lot, and I don't think there's anybody on Middle Tennessee side or even West Tennessee that's not pulling for, CPA to win that game. But Alcoa is a dynasty. CPA's built up in the last few years, and they're really good. I'm just afraid when they get to that game, Alcoa's experience, their talent, they're a loaded football team just like CPA. But I'm going to be there, and I've watched Alcoa play several times. I talked to Coach Rankin actually, a week ago, asked me how good are they, and I said they're pretty good, Coach. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that they can play with them, and I hope they can. They're going to have to weather the storm, and it's going to be a little different for them because they've always waited for other people to do it, and Alcoa's pretty sound too. So it's going to be a battle. I hope they can, but until they do it, it's kind of like beating the Broncos. Till you do it, can it happen? So.
Yeah, Coach Rankin, Gary Rankin, by the way, long-time coach at Riverdale in Murfreesboro. And I remember when I grew up in Murfreesboro, he was over there, did a great job with them, went over to Alcoa. He's just a very successful coach. You're a successful coach, 11-2, great season. Looking at your record and the games, and Amber's covered so many of your games, you guys really blew through the schedule, ran into a speed bump with Lewis County right there in the middle of the season, losing 37-34, and then, of course, lost to CPA in the playoffs. But you guys had to feel good about how kind of steamrolled through the regular season.
Well, we did, and those two speed bumps are self-inflicted. I always tell our guys the only team that really beats us is us. And in Lewis County and CPA, we had 10 turnovers combined. In the rest of the season, we had 4. So if you look at the lopsided scores, you'll notice we took care of the football and we made a lot of good plays. We had a lot of big playmakers. But when you get into those tough games against tough teams, they force you to turn the ball over, do some things you don't want to do, and then they capitalize. And where we had those troubles and hiccups, we knew against those two good defensive teams. And Lewis County's got a solid defense, and CPA's got a really solid defense. So they're not going to make a lot of mistakes, and we just had to hold on to the football, and we didn't do it. But overall, our kids played really hard, and they had a lot of success this year.
I know you can't single out anybody, one particular person, but is there a group of folks that you want to kind of single out on your football team that kind of led the way with leadership and tenacity?
Yeah, not only that. I mean, we have so many solid senior guys that we're going to be losing, and we had a lot last year that we lost. But our senior linebacker, Garrett Wall, who has several offers and had 137 tackles on the year, was selected to the East-West All-Star game. He'll be playing in Cookeville a week after this week. He kind of led us on defense. And then we had a sophomore quarterback that stepped up, senior wide receivers, Nick Harvey and Mike Jordan, our fullback, Hunter Myatt, who also played linebacker. And then we had some D-linemen, O-linemen that probably couldn't start on CPA's team, but they fought hard and did everything we asked them to do, and they gave us everything on Friday night. We had a 150-pound DN named Austin Walker, who's a senior, who took on Paul Adams and made him work his butt off all night long.
Like to hear that. We are talking right now with Fairview head football coach Chris Hughes. Do you feel, I don't know how to ask this, feel shafted sometimes that you guys don't get the publicity? You're Fairview, you're all the way on the western side of Williamson County. Do you feel like sometimes you don't get the media attention? You're like, hey, waving your hands like, check us out, we're 11-2.
Well, there's been a lot of people that feel that way, and I'm from Fairview. I'm a Fairview person, grew up there, and we used to not get the coverage. But now, the poor Fairview card is hard to play. We're still the best secret in Williamson County. We have a great school, great administration, and great athletic teams. But now, Rudy Kalis came to 3 of our games. You guys are just about every game. The Williamson Herald, the Tennessean, Maurice. I've talked to so many people, and we've seen so much. I think the media coverage for us is great right now. But I've told our kids it's not changed because of anything except you winning. When you win for a consistent amount of time, you're going to get some media coverage. And if you don't win, you're not going to get any. So they know that to keep that pace and to build where we're going, to get over that next hurdle and to get to that next every year, you have to just keep working and working. And Fairview is getting there. So I'm not disappointed at all, and I'm happy to be here. This is media coverage.
Absolutely, and we're happy to give it to you. Amber Pennycuff, who's been covering a lot of your games, she's got a question for you right now, and I know you know who she is, right?
I do.
Are you used to my questions by now?
I am. I've
Good.
answered a lot of your questions. I need my
Good.
6-year-old with me.
Good. You do. She's adorable.
She is.
So sweet. You say you're from Fairview. I was wondering how you got your start coaching, at Fairview.
Wow, I was just telling George this. A lot of coaches have to work their way up into the ranks, and I didn't have to do that. I got out of Middle Tennessee State University, got my degree, and I applied in Williamson County. Didn't get any job offers, and Fairview Middle's principal called me the second day of school and said the guy they hired didn't show up. Can I come and work? And I started coaching there for 12 years. I coached middle school. We had a lot of success. Went straight to the head coach at the high school for the last 5 years, and we've had a lot of success. The people in the city, most of the people in Fairview know me. They grew up with me, so there's a lot of comfort there, a lot of support. And we're building a good thing at Fairview High School, but I got my job a little different. I kind of backed into my job, and now I've earned my stripes as I went through. So.
Fantastic. And you have an update on the Mr. Football Awards.
I do.
What do you have?
We have Derek Barnett, Tennessee commit actually, just won the Mr. Football Award. And from Ensworth, DeAndre Furby, I believe that's how you pronounce that. It's Division II, Class AA. So congratulations to those young men. And we'll toss it back to you, Nick.
All right, Coach Hughes here with Fairview High School football. You voted for these guys, didn't you?
Actually, all 3 I've heard, Paul Adams, Derek Barnett, and DeAndre Furby. Fairview cast their vote for them. I have a defense coordinator, Chris Butler, who's up to date with stats of every player around, and I kind of gave him the list and let him choose. But all 3 of those winners from Williamson County and just right around there, we voted for. So far we're doing well on our elections anyway.
Absolutely. How much do you guys have a chance to watch other teams in the Nashville area? Because you're so consumed with your team and the team you're playing next, but how much do you get a lot of opportunities to check out other teams?
We do in our county. Like we're interested in Franklin and Brentwood, and we have a lot of kids that know each other in our county, and it's interesting to keep up with like Independence and Ravenwood, and I know those coaches, and we talk, and so we get to watch a little bit of theirs, but most of the film we watch are the teams we're playing, and it's not a lot of metro schools, so we're playing the schools out toward our way, about the same size schools, and watch a lot of film on those guys. I had watched a lot of CPA film. In fact, I was tired of watching CPA film. But I want to watch one more of their games and wish them luck next week. But we're trying to get to that level that they're at right now, and it gives us a good measuring stick for what we need to do.
So what does next year's team look like for you, Coach? You said you had a lot of seniors this year. Is next year going to be a rebuilding year, or do you feel like you guys can be pretty strong?
Well, this was our rebuilding year, so I told everybody last year if we lost, we went 8-4, and we lost some really good 6 players that are playing college football right now. And I said, this will be a rebuilding year, and I said, I think we're going to sneak up on some people. And so next year's going to be a rebuilding year, but our expectations aren't changing. We want to get as far as we can go, with the ultimate goal is to play in the state championship game. And Fairview's never been past the 3rd round, which is where we got to this year. That's only happened twice in school history. So next year we want to get past that hump and try to get into that game. But we will be rebuilding. We're losing a lot of talent. But I think the guys we've got coming back, they know the work it takes in the weight room, and we plan to replace and reload instead of just rebuild every year.
How much work goes into the off season? You mentioned the weight room, and that's where kind of the season is made, right? In the off season.
It has to be made there. I've got a strength coach, Michael Jackson, who came from Cheatham County. I got him. He's a big old guy. I played at UT Martin. And starting in January, we'll have 60 kids in the weight room 3 days a week, and they'll be lifting and doing what they need to do, getting their bodies ready. Then we'll have spring practice, and it's just right into the next. Those past years of football season, you played football and then baseball and then this. Now it's like a year-long commitment to be good. And we encourage our kids to play other sports, but they also got to get those workouts in, however that happens. So we're looking forward to getting back to it. We're real lucky to have Coach Jackson, because he has changed our strength and conditioning program to the point that we can play physical with teams like CPA, even though they're bigger. And you have to be strong to play with those teams.
Well, speaking of strength and conditioning, we're going to be talking with a couple of personal trainers here with the Brentwood YMCA Maryland Farm, so you might want to stick around for that, especially after you eat this.
I may do that.
All right. Chris Hughes, head football coach with the Fairview Yellow Jackets. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. All right. Well, right now, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the sponsors that we want to thank in helping make Sports Source possible.
Live from Wild Wing Cafe in Cool Springs, this is Sports Source on WilliamsonSource.com. Presented by Dailies and Twice Daily. Win $500 gas weekly with the Coca-Cola Word of the Week. And by Jack Yakubian Jewelers in downtown Franklin. A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs. Bob Parks Realty. Franklin Skin and Laser. Push Pedal Pull in Brentwood. And Wild Wing Cafe.
Again, want to thank all of our wonderful sponsors in making Sports Source happen right here on WilliamsonSource.com. By the way, if you happen to miss a portion of this show live, then you can. We will have it on our website on WilliamsonSource.com in a couple of days, and you can watch the entire show in its entirety. That will be in a couple of days here on Sports Source on WilliamsonSource.com. Joining us now, well, this isn't turkey, but I'm sure you guys had a lot of turkey like I did. These are wings. We're at Wild Wing Cafe. Awesome meal, all-you-can-eat wings. But you do have to eat in moderation. Eric Hager now joining us now. He's the personal training coordinator with the Maryland Farms Brentwood YMCA. You tend to overeat this time of the year. You got Thanksgiving, you got the Christmas holidays, you got candy, cookies, all kinds of stuff happening. But it's so important to stay in shape, at least be active, isn't it?
Absolutely, especially this time of year. The biggest thing you can do is make a plan. You got to make fitness a priority with your diet and with your exercise. So, using your calendar, your personal planner, whatever you use to schedule your appointments, put your workouts on that calendar. Make this a priority that I'm going to go to the gym or do some type of workout every day. And same thing with the food. If you're going to a Christmas party or you just went to Thanksgiving dinner with your family, you're going to be there. Plan around that. Don't skip your meals before you go. Maybe eat an additional meal right before you go so you don't have a tendency to overeat.
Yeah. And I guess it's so important to, enjoy the holiday season with all the great foods. But how important is it to just take maybe a smaller plate instead of larger plates, smaller portions on your plate?
Sure. Watch those portions. Portion control is key. And you're going to be enjoying some of your favorite things this time of year. So plan for that at the gym. Maybe walk a little bit further. If you usually walk a mile, maybe walk 1.5 miles. If you're usually doing an intense workout for an hour, maybe add an additional 15 minutes just to burn off those extra calories.
How crazy is it when New Year's resolution kicks in and all the folks start coming to the Y? What's the number one complaint that you get from people saying something about themselves that they don't like?
Yeah, number one complaint is I want to flatten my belly. That's going to be everything, men and women, that they're looking for, and that's a problem area for everybody, especially as we age. That's going to be the number one thing you look for. So, I mean, what you got to do is watch what you're eating, portion control, and increase that activity level.
And the cold weather also kind of keeps people inside in the summertime, spring, fall. People are out and about, having a great time, being very active. How do you motivate yourself in the cold weather to be more active?
Well, you got to mix it up and not be afraid to try new things. If you're usually a runner that's outside and you can't take the cold, get in there and try something that you haven't done before. Maybe try some yoga, try a boot camp or a high-intensity training class, something that you haven't done before, because you might find out that you like it, and then you have something else that you can choose from.
A lot of busy schedules for a lot of folks, and I want you to introduce Megan here, and Megan Brazil. She's the wellness director at the Brentwood Maryland Farms YMCA. Eric, what are some of the things, and I guess Megan will show us here in a second, what are some of the things you could do at home because so many people are so busy?
Well, what we're going to have Megan.
Hi, Megan, by the way.
This is Megan. Megan's my boss, by the way.
Oh, okay. So you get to boss her around right now.
I get to boss Megan around today. So a few things you can do is, if you can't make it to the gym, there's a ton of bodyweight exercises you can do in the comfort of your home that you don't need any kind of fancy equipment to do. You can just do it while you're watching your favorite TV show. So what we're going to start with Megan is she's just going to show you a regular bodyweight squat. So Megan's going to have her feet about hip, shoulder width apart. She's looking to push her hips back like she was going to sit down in a chair, keeping those shoulders nice and high. Her core is engaged, keeping that nice flat neutral spine, using her quadriceps, glutes, and hamstrings to push herself back up to a standing position.
How often do you do this?
For this is something we're going to do at least every other day. Since it is with more of a strength component, you don't want to do it every day, at least 3 times a week. So we're looking at kind of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday kind of a thing. Working on those legs, really increasing that power, which is a big muscle group. These are the largest muscles you got, so you got to use these muscles to increase that muscle mass.
I know I've done wall sits before, Megan. Is it kind of the same thing? Is one better than the other?
Well, with the wall sit, you are building strength in one position. Any kind of isometric exercise, when you hold a position for an extended period of time, you're building strength, but you're building it in that one position. If you can keep something more dynamic to where you're working all aspects of your muscle group, you're going to get a little bit more utility and you're going to burn a few more calories.
Amber is going to join us up here now. Amber loves to work out as well. I'm sure you've got a few questions for Eric and Megan.
I do. Talk about the high interval training. I know that's a really good way to burn calories and lose weight, and it kind of switches it up a little bit, I feel like.
Well, as far as with the interval training, what you're getting is you're getting your heart rate up, but you're also getting the benefit of working different muscle groups. So you're going to get an entire body workout. So you're getting your strengthening in there, which is a key component of your fitness. In addition to that, you're getting your cardiovascular health in there. Both of those are 2 big components. Neither one of them need to be ignored. So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone with that.
Yeah, that's huge. And what are some other exercises you can do at home? And while you're doing that, I do want to ask you a little bit more about some of the interval training.
We're going to go down to a push-up.
Get down, Megan, go!
They're not my favorite either.
So Megan's going to engage her core right here, keeping herself nice and straight. She's going to have her hands just underneath her shoulders, slowly going to lower herself towards the floor till her arms are at least at a 90-degree bend. From here, she's going to keep those abs nice and tight and slowly push herself up back to a starting position. So we're working on your chest, shoulders, and triceps right here, as well as that isometric contraction with that core to keep your body nice and stiff.
Got about 120 more, Megan. Keep going. And these aren't the this may not be politically correct anymore, but the girly push-ups. Remember the girl push-ups? Yeah.
The girly.
Put the knees down.
So there are some modifications you can make if this is too hard for you. Megan's going to drop down to her knees and continue that same motion. This is something that if you're a little bit weaker, more of a beginner, you can do this to kind of build up that strength. Another modification she can do is if this is still too difficult, she's just going to lower herself from this position to the floor as slowly as she can. So she's focusing on this negative movement, or we call it an eccentric motion, to develop that muscle. You're actually a little bit stronger that way. When that muscle's lengthening, you're about 40% stronger. So if you can't push yourself back up, just lower yourself as slow as you can towards the floor, get up however you can, and repeat that process.
And you were saying people want to flatten their bellies. That's kind of their biggest thing. What can you do at home for that?
So what we're going to do next is we're going to kind of put the two together. This is a very popular movement in CrossFit or high intensity training.
Are you sweating yet?
Yeah.
This is called a burpee. So basically what we're going to do is Megan's going to get into a push-up position all the way down to the floor and get back up as fast as she can. So what she's going to do from here is she's going to widen her feet a little bit like she was going to squat. She's going to squat down so she can place her hands on the floor in that push-up position. From here, she's going to shoot her feet back together at one time, complete that push-up, bring her feet back to that squat position, stand up, and jump at the top.
This is happening fast.
This is happening fast. So she was doing it slow as a demonstration. Picking up a little bit of speed, you're still getting that strength component. Now we're incorporating cardiovascular activity. Your heart rate's going to elevate. Once you do about 10 of these, you're going to be feeling it pretty good. If you can do 20, that deserves a round of applause.
Yeah, you certainly have my applause, that's for sure.
I think she just burned off 3 wings just doing that.
Yeah, seriously.
Those are not my favorite. There you go. There you go.
What about the CrossFit? I want to touch a little bit more on that because it is so hot. I've got so many friends right now that are doing it. And some things have come out now. Maybe it's not as safe, maybe it's not good for you. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the things to remember is there are no scientific studies out right now to say CrossFit is safe or not safe. So, sorry, catching my breath. You're fired. So, in any case, things you need to remember with any fitness program, you want to have someone there, if you're a beginner, to watch your form. Because watching the form is a key thing. If you don't have correct form, the biggest threat is you could injure yourself, which would throw a wrench obviously in your workout plan. But in addition to that, if you just have incorrect form with any aspect of it, then you could render the workout or the exercise ineffective. So you're really not doing yourself any good. So whatever workout plan you go with, whether it's personal training, whether it's CrossFit, if it's boot camp, whatever you have, you want to make sure that you have someone there who is monitoring your form, making sure you're doing it correctly, and keeping you within your limits and keeping you on track to your goals. Because you need to sit down with a fitness professional and talk about your goals. Goals for one person are not going to be the same for someone else. So if you lump into something and everyone's doing the same thing, you want to make sure that you are on track to achieve what you want to accomplish. So if a fitness workout encompasses those things, if you have monitoring of your form, if you have a discussion with a fitness professional about what you're trying to accomplish and you have a plan to get to that, then you're going to be successful.
Now, you do this, don't you, Amber? Don't you CrossFit?
I do. Well, I've switched over to hot yoga now because I have a very bad back. But I was actually going to ask about, they say abs are made in the kitchen. Talk about that, and I'm a firm believer in that. If you're eating right, you can get abs easier. I found in my personal experience, versus eating cake and an apple.
Gotcha. Actually, as far as with weight loss goes, you're going to hear a lot of people say, and there are different goals besides just weight loss in a workout plan. But if your goal is weight loss, sadly enough, nutrition is, some people say 70% success, or some people say 80%. So you can come and you can go to the gym and you can really work hard, but you're not going to get completely 100% where you want to be unless you have the nutritional aspect in there. It's a huge part. And if anyone is going to look to really make that change in their lives this New Year's, then I would always say sit down with a dietitian. Spend the money, sit down with a dietitian, wherever that may be, and talk about what you want to accomplish. Eric and I are personal trainers, but we're not licensed to give any nutritional advice. We can work it out, but we can't tell you what to eat. So sit down with a dietitian, find out what your needs are based on your medical history, your goals, whether you're male or female, whether you've had a child, if you have diabetes. Those are all things that could change what you need to be eating. So just take that time and sit down with that dietitian. It will be worth it.
Eric, I want you to settle a debate that I had with a friend of mine. Do you stretch before you exercise? I know you stretch after, but do you stretch before as well?
Yeah, there are actually going to be 2 different types of stretching. Before your activity, we're going to look for a dynamic type of a stretching. So instead of what you're kind of thinking of as a static stretching, like I'm going to bend over and try and touch my toes, same kind of concept, but we're going to incorporate movement with it. So you're going to stretch before and after. It's just a little bit differently how you're going to do it.
Interesting. By the way, just for the record, I was saying you do stretch before. So, and some are like, no, you just get out there and play. I play tennis, so just get out there and play. I'm like, I can't. I'm too old. I have to stretch. So, thank you so much, Megan Brazil, the wellness director at the Maryland Farms YMCA, for joining us. and you're not sweating. It's incredible. I'd be drenched by now. So.
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes? Yeah, I'm sure. And Eric Hager, the personal training coordinator over at the Brentwood YMCA Maryland Farms. How can people get in touch with you if they have more questions or want to participate?
Well, at the YMCA, if you just call 615-373-2900, that's the main welcome center. If they would like to speak with me or they would like to speak with Eric, they can connect you. Also, if you want to email us, my email is mbrazil, that's MBRAZILL, at ymcamidtn.org. And Eric's is ehager, that's EHAGAR, at ymcamidtn.org.
All right. Well, you guys were fantastic. Thank you so much. Some great tips. Megan and Eric, thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. You ready to do some sits here, or wall sits and
I
squats?
probably need to after all I'm going to eat after this.
All right. While we're doing this closing part, we're going to do squats the whole time.
Okay, squats.
Ready?
We can do that. Ready?
All right. Go. Like, they don't believe us. Donna
We can
Visman
do
right
this.
here says no. We can.
In heels,
Guys, can you
Donna.
think
In heels.
you think we can do this, right? As we're talking,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Definitely.
Coach Chris Hughes over there, yeah, he believes in us. Anyway, I'm not going to do it. Huge week for you. High school football, be quiet. High school football going on this week. We mentioned it. We talked to Coach Hughes about it. CPA taking on Alcoa, 3A state championship. It's going to be a really good game. You're going to be there.
I'm going to be there. It's going to be a tough game, but looking at the record, CPA's just kind of breezed through, I feel like, their schedule this year, but so has Alcoa, so it's kind of a toss-up. If they can play like they played all year long, I don't see why they couldn't win it.
It's going to be interesting. And, of course, for all complete coverage, you can check out WilliamsonSource.com. Amber's been all over the high school football scene like no one else in Williamson County, so make sure you check out her coverage on WilliamsonSource.com. Well, we've had a great time here. Second show down in the books for Sports Source. Want to thank Wild Wing Cafe. Wonderful lunch we're about to have here in just a few minutes. Come on down and join us next week. We'll have a great guest lineup as well. Come on down and you can ask questions, get involved in the show. And they have a great lunch menu. Again, all you can eat wings for $10.99, 30-minute lunch guaranteed. All you can eat wing bar. And want to thank all of our other sponsors as well. And our guests, George Plaster from 102.5. And also Chris Hughes, the Fairview High School football coach, Megan Brazil and Eric Hager from the Brentwood Maryland Farms YMCA. Also want to thank John D for coming on. You saw some good things there, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I might be stopping by there this afternoon.
I saw your eyes lighting up
Yeah.
the whole time looking at John D's stuff. Franklin Firefighters Association, the 6th annual toy and clothing drive. Make sure you drop by one of the fire stations in Franklin, pull one of those cards for the fire hydrant, and buy something for a child in need for this Christmas season. For everyone behind the scenes and all the good folks here at Wild Wing Cafe in Cool Springs, for Amber Pennycuff, I'm Nick Peranjape. We'll see you next Monday for Sports Source.
See you
Have a
next
great day.
Monday.
Thank you for watching Sports Source on WilliamsonSource.com, live from Wild Wing Cafe in Cool Springs. Presented by Dailies and Twice Daily. Win $500 gas weekly with the Coca-Cola Word of the Week. And by Jack Jacobian Jewelers in downtown Franklin. A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs. Bob Parks Realty. Franklin Skin and Laser. Push Pedal Pull in Brentwood. And Wild Wing Cafe. Sports Source is a production of WilliamsonSource.com, hosted by Nick Peranjape and WilliamsonSource.com sports editor Amber Pennycuff. Follow high school sports action plus Vandy, Vols, SEC, Titans, Preds, and more every day at WilliamsonSource.com, on Facebook at Williamson Source, and on Twitter at WilliamsonSRC. Thanks again for watching Sports Source. This is WilliamsonSource.com.